The first time you play this masterpiece will likely be an accident. Google Chrome has a game hidden in its offline screen. If you're ever trying to load a page and your internet cuts out, you can press up on your keyboard to start this game. It's a cute, infinite runner starring a T-Rex on a mysterious mission. I urge you to try the game out yourself before continuing because, as always, there will be full spoilers in this video. Added to Google Chrome in September of 2014, the T-Rex runner has you control our dinosaur hero with only 2 buttons. Up makes him jump, down makes him duck, and pressing down during a jump will cause him to fall back to the ground sooner. You use these controls to slip past obstacles while the game continually propels you through the level. But that's all boring gameplay stuff. Like most games, it's a simple distraction while you discover the true meaning of the artistry that you're witnessing, the story. See, video games are unique among all forms of art because they have to deal with interactivity. There's no way to reliably frame something or provide definite direction for the player reaching the conclusion that you want them to have, save for making your video game turn into something else instead. A movie sequence within a game isn't a game anymore, it's a movie. It sounds sort of stupid, but it's also true of reading diary logs or watching scenes of dialogue play out. Unless there's player input, something meaningful for the player to control, it's no longer a game in those moments. Instead of putting in a lot of work creating non-linear narratives with player choices leading to different outcomes, relentless tough decisions, and gameplay actions carrying narrative weight, most developers have opted to do something far more interesting. They deliver a story in pieces, like a beautiful stained glass window that has been smashed with a hammer, and allow you to discover them and put it back together yourself. This is like a jigsaw puzzle you're trying to solve without having the picture on the box to guide you. Plus, you keep cutting your fingers on the pieces of glass so your blood is within whatever conclusion you come to. It really reinforces how much you're invested in the process and how worthwhile it's been. The problem arises when that stained glass window was secretly blank to begin with, and there is no original picture you're putting back together at all. The only image you ultimately see is whatever your blood and imagination makes. A good sign of this would be a lot of bickering and disagreement over important details when people compare their pictures, or rather their interpretations, and get into heated arguments over which version is the real, authentic version. Unfortunately, video games do this so well that I can't think of a single example of this happening, ever. All discussions on games with ambiguous stories are always respectful and come to reasonable conclusions.
Fuck you.
Developers truly are pushing this mode of storytelling to new refreshing heights with every game that has you piece together details with nebulous dialogue and vague item descriptions. What makes the T-Rex runner special is that it has totally broken free of those shackles, so much so that no other game has yet to achieve the same success with so little information given to you. After all, the less that's said to you, the more you get to fill in yourself, which is what high art is all about. There are levels to the T-Rex runner, and I don't mean that in the insignificant, childish term of video game levels. I mean levels of meaning, levels of comprehension. Both for what each individual person will be able to grasp and to cater to the different literary intelligence levels of the audience. It's a game for everyone, it's a game for no one. Juxtaposition. If the author of a book takes the time to mention what the color of the curtains are in a scene, then they had a crucial reason for doing so, and by God are we going to find out what that was. In liberal arts classes, Chekhov's gun is a real thing that every professor keeps in their desk to bash you over the head if you ignore this core idea. Hours must be spent figuring out why a semicolon was used instead of a period. Without this rule, all of literary criticism would collapse into itself, creating the second greatest tragedy to ever befall mankind. The first greatest would be there be no one left to analyze the books written about it. The heart of all literary analysis lies in questions. T-Rex Runner immediately captivates any that begin to play with one so simple yet so compelling that it becomes an inescapable vortex of further questions, deeper questions, until you're spat out with revelation after shuddering revelation. It all begins with this: why is the T-Rex runner running? Is he running to something or away from something? The answer you may jump to is that this is some sort of humorous recreation of the extinction event that the dinosaurs went through. Our T-Rex is running from the spreading destruction caused by an asteroid that hypothetically collided with the Earth somewhere nearby. However, if you progress past the first few cactus jumps, you'll begin seeing pterodactyls flying toward you. Since they can fly, they would obviously be able to see farther than our hero T-Rex, and wouldn't willingly fly toward anything as dangerous as a shockwave spreading out from an asteroid impact site. Again, everything is intentional, you need to remember that. These pterodactyls could have easily been flying in the same direction that we are traveling in, and we're simply running so fast that we're overtaking them, but this isn't the case, and that's really important. Does this mean the T-Rex runner has an intended destination? Not necessarily. He could still be running from something, and I will posit his motivations are more than clear in just a moment, but we can safely assume there's nothing actively chasing him. Nothing physically present in the world, at least. The next clues come from repeated exposure to the game. Failure and restarting is a core part of the narrative experience in T-Rex Runner. While far more shallow games would use this as an indicator that you need to improve your technical mastery of boorish gameplay, here we see it used in a far more compelling and worthwhile way, to further the narrative. These questions come as if they're a loose string that you notice, causing the whole shroud to unravel after one errant tug. Why would a T-Rex be defeated by something as small and trivial as a plant? Barbed or no, a T-Rex would be capable of plowing right through these cacti. Same goes for the pterodactyls, which should present themselves as a meal on wings rather than an adversary for our hero. Remember, everything was decided on purpose. Our T-Rex could have easily been a far less fearsome dinosaur, but one of the most famous predators in history was chosen to be our avatar and our key to unlocking one of the greatest stories in video games for a deliberate reason. The final puzzle piece is on the T-Rex himself, something you have no doubt noticed is missing: teeth. This T-Rex has no sign of the dinosaur's most prominent features. No predatory grin, just a vacant mouth standing out so clearly for you to notice it. Here's what's really happening here. Our T-Rex is not really missing any teeth. Our T-Rex is a vegetarian and ashamed of it. He views it as a defect. Every plant he collides with results in failure because he is ashamed that he wants to eat plants instead of meat, and every pterodactyl he bumps into comes with a wave of nausea and shame for something he should crave but instead disgusts him. Now consider the setting, chosen so carefully by both the T-Rex Runner dev team and the character himself, a desert where he should encounter the least amount of temptation to consume plant matter. Far from the scorn of other T-Rexes, which I propose is what he truly believes he's running from, his home. This is a tragic story of exile, guilt, and self-inflicted punishment. This T-Rex Runner really is infinite as he attempts to run himself to death, to escape his hellish existence. Every time you fail means a flashback to the failure of his nature, or another irresistible meal and a new start to run off all of his energy to the point of deathly exhaustion. It's further supported by the day and night cycle that eventually begins partway through your run. It's not just a cycle for the sake of atmosphere, or else why would the background change each night to mark the passage of time? Every day spent running is closer to the sweet release the T-Rex craves. Of course, most of you watching are probably chortling to yourselves thinking that this is all obvious, and yes, you're correct, it's plain as day and the first of many layers I mentioned earlier. This is the surface level interpretation of T-Rex Runner. It's the most grounded in objective, intentional details that anyone can latch onto. I'll say what we're all thinking, this is the layer included for children. Although some of the brighter ones may reach past it, we must have faith in the analytical skills of the next generation that will never surpass us, but inevitably inherit our stations. Fucking millennials. The next layer of understanding and meaning arrives when you acknowledge that the scene playing out in T-Rex Runner is impossible. While scholars among you no doubt immediately noticed that the T-Rex and pterodactyl did not coexist at any point in history, the T-Rex is from the Cretaceous period while the pterodactyl is, of course, from the late Jurassic, there is another clue for those who have less interest in the most noble political pursuit of dinosaur study. While some form of cacti might have existed during the Cretaceous period, it is laughably unlikely to be in a form so recognizable to us. The whole scenario is an impossible, glorious, fantastical play. T-Rex Runner enjoys a dreamscape of a setting, likely the last dying moments of our hero dinosaur as he contemplates all the prey he shamefully avoided in life, and all of the humiliating plants he chose to gorge himself on instead. The score on the screen takes on a new meaning with this new revelation. It's a karmic counter, divine judgment. The T-Rex is bolstering his own estimation of his life as he continues to avoid succumbing to temptation and stuffing his mouth with plants. Perhaps at some point, this dream becomes closer to reality in the form of an unending purgatory. For there are no lives, no limited continues. Restarts are instant as the T-Rex Runner inflicts torture upon himself for all eternity in an infinite run. For the final layer of meaning, we must recall the hallowed words of Marshall McLuhan: "The medium is the message." And I propose there has never been a more harmonious match to that aphorism than T-Rex Runner. Naturally, I do not mean something as shoddy as the medium of video games. I mean Google's browser Chrome, and the predicament that all who play this game will find themselves in. The internet is arguably the most important invention so far in mankind's troubled reign on this planet. And what is more fitting than a return to a dark age before we were born, when access to that technology is ripped away from us? The T-Rex, the undisputed king of its era, just as we are in our time, running aimlessly, uselessly, just as we flounder with indecisiveness when our addicting, nourishing technology is withheld. How pathetically enthralled we are with this childish distraction when what we really want is taken away from us, with no set promise of when it may return. In a few seconds, minutes, hours, keep jumping, keep running, keep waiting for something to happen, just like the T-Rex, thinking that the next jump will be different. As always, you must be urged to look deeper. The T-Rex is, of course, not really an animal of legend, but a representation of ourselves. He is the most cherished and foolish ancestor all rolled into one. He represents change, a vegetarian predator. Is this an evolutionary mutation gone awry, or a representation of how every bit of technological progress, from the first seeds we planted to the smartphones we all enjoy today, being the result of brilliant outliers like the T-Rex runner, stumbling ever forward no matter if they progress or not, our unsung, mutated martyrs throughout history? And how, when all of that is suddenly ripped away when the internet goes out, that we're left scrambling with no goals, that our society would tumble all the way back if it wasn't just your internet that was out, but everyone's internet, and the collapse of society that would follow, that we would be banished back into the depths of Plato's cave, sometimes reaching some scrap of enlightenment when the sun rises, but then plunge back into darkness when the night cycle comes again as the T-Rex runner runs on and on. Or perhaps it's a return to the addiction of the internet that has us all back, prisoners of the cave, kept sustained and content but never truly happy. That is what the T-Rex runner truly symbolizes. That torturous pursuit of truth, knowledge, and real agonizing happiness that may never come. That accepting your true purpose while facing that which was expected for you can sometimes be done at once. And that the greatest revelation of all may always remain out of your reach, but that you must continue to push forward to grasp it, never stopping, over whatever obstacles may come at you, facing truth no matter how repulsive, rejecting your nature while embracing your instincts, and the horrifying reality that you cannot accept. Basically, it all means that Super Mario Odyssey is a 6 out of 10.
You never see it coming.